Good morning, my brothers and sisters. Welcome to episode number 49 in Deuteronomy. We're going to ask today, how many wives is best? We're going to do a little bit of a tricky topic about what do you do with female captives, and could marriage have a role, and what is the role of marriage, and how many marriages is a good idea? This is going to come from Deuteronomy chapter 21, two sections. Here's the first, verse 10. When you go out to war against your enemies, and the Lord your God gives them into your hand, in other words, you killed the men, and you take them captive, and you see among the captives a beautiful woman, and you desire to take her to be your wife. And you bring her into your house, and she shall shave her head and pare her nails, and she shall take off the clothes in which she was captured, and shall remain in your house, and lament for her father and her mother, and I assume her husband, for a full month. After that, you may go into her and be her husband, and she shall be your wife. But if you no longer delight in her, you shall let her go where she wants. But you shall not sell her for money, nor shall you treat her as a slave, since you have humiliated her. So the topic here is, how do you treat women from other conquered cultures? Is rape allowed? Is adultery allowed? So the context is, her previous husband has been killed in battle, and so she is husbandless. If they're children, then they're fatherless. And this provision here is about giving her a home, giving her clothing, giving her time to mourn, not treating her as a slave. So there are some benefits here to this life-saving provision in the codes of war. So, but this is a war bride, and how is she going to survive? She's in grief. The alternatives to this are not very good. One is death. The other is slavery. The other is starvation. The other is prostitution, or here, marriage. So you get the benefits of a family, a husband and a wife. So certainly you can make an argument that this is, on the whole, a protection for her and any attached children. It might be a concession to sinful man to allow polygamy, that's what we're talking about here, with responsibilities. Now, it doesn't mean that God's pleased with the practice of polygamy, but practically having multiple wives does come with some benefits: relational, sexual, survival, but it also comes with responsibilities, and that's really what's mentioned here. Polygamy has been practiced since 6 generations after Adam, where Lamech took 2 wives. God never told him to do so. And from that time until the Babylonian exile in 586 BC, polygamy is allowed. It's never endorsed, because the Lord is trying to make a holy people, and they're never going to even quite get there until we get to Jesus. So if it's going to be practiced, polygamy, it's not going to be practiced without the responsibilities of provision. So that's point number 1. Another big point here is, let's just talk about polygamy for a second. It's not God's ideal. In Genesis 3, therefore a man shall leave his father and his mother and hold fast to his wife, and they shall become one flesh. So there's lots of arguments biblically against polygamy. God invented the institution of marriage for one man and one woman, one flesh, not fleshes. It's leaving one father and one mother. Adam and Eve are singular people. There's lots of Old Testament heroes that are not involved in polygamy: Noah, Job, Isaac, Moses, Joseph, and Mary. There's lots of examples of polygamy being a bad example. Solomon is the number one there. And just because the Bible mentioned it doesn't mean that it is condoned. So to cite the practice is not to approve the practice. And then in the New Testament it becomes a lot clearer. The New Testament requires and forbids polygamy. In 1 Timothy chapter 3, verse 2, the elders in your congregation, therefore an overseer, an elder, or a teacher, pastor person must be above reproach, the husband of one wife. And Jesus reinforces it by mentioning the passage from Exodus. So a singular wife is the ideal and the design. All right, so let's talk about the problems with polygamy. He's going to mention one, just the next verse, verse 15 in Deuteronomy chapter 21. Here it is, verse 15. If a man has 2 wives, and then he's going to talk about his affection level for them, one loved and the other unloved, and both the loved and the unloved have borne him children, and if the firstborn belongs to the unloved, then on the day when he assigns his possession as inheritance to his sons, he may not treat the son of the loved as the firstborn, in preference to the son of the unloved, who was the firstborn. But he shall acknowledge the firstborn, the son of the unloved, by giving him a double portion of all that he has, for he is the first fruits of his strength. The right of the firstborn is his. So in this little section, polygamy is assumed. It's not condoned, but it is negatively treated. So we have the inheritance of the loved, not the children. He's describing the affection towards the mother, the loved mother's kids, and the inheritance of the unloved mother's kids. So what's the problem with polygamy? It's comparison. So the affection will always be different towards two different people. Maybe on different days it changed. So two wives, you have two levels of affection. And then we're talking about the practical expression of that love now with money, inheritance. So what if the unloved is the firstborn? So do my current affection supersede the right of the firstborn? Now the kids here are innocent. They have nothing to do with how you feel about the wives. He has nothing to do with when he was born. He didn't make the rules about the value of the firstborn. It's not his fault that you married two women and you took on the responsibility of supporting both of them. So on the day when he assigns possession, you cannot treat the son of the loved person, but is the secondborn, as the firstborn. So with marriage comes the responsibilities of marriage. You have to acknowledge the firstborn, the son of the unloved. Give the firstborn a double portion. He's the firstborn, the first fruits of your strength. So the birthright had a particular value, and it was a double inheritance. So polygamy. So watch how the Bible treats it. It mentions it, it allows it, but it doesn't condone it, it doesn't endorse it, and here really, in my opinion, speaks against it. So how many wives is best? The clear answer, both in the Old Testament and the New Testament, one is the right answer, or there will be problems. Thanks for listening.